Բարև ձեզ սիրելի հայրենակիցներ, ես Արփիկ Քեստենյանն եմ, նորից հանդիպում ենք ձեզ Պան Արմենյանի տաղավարում, ինչպես որ բոլորս էլ գիտենք եւ վայելում ենք գարնան գեղեցկությունը եւ պայծառ արևը եւ հույսով եմ, որ ձեր բոլորի սրտերում, ձեր բոլորի տներում արևը լուսավորում է, ջերմացնում է բոլորի հոգիները։ Եվ այսօր մենք ունենք շատ բացառիկ հաղորդում, ինչպես որ ես ձեզ խոստացել էի, մենք ունենք հյուր, իմ հյուրն է այսօր Dr. Jonathan Thomas-ը, որը միացել է Hospice of Grace ընտանիքին, եւ ես կուզեմ մի փոքր ներկայացնեմ Dr. Thomas-ին եւ մենք սկսենք մեր զրույցը Dr. Thomas-ի հետ միասին։ Dr. Thomas-ը ունի կրթություն Հավայի եւ Լավրոն համալսարաններից եւ նա իր կրթությունը ունի հոգեբանության, psychology-ի եւ կրոնքի religion-ի մեջ։ Մենք հիմա բարի գալուստ ասենք Dr. Thomas-ին. Dr. Thomas, thank you for coming to our show. I was just introducing to my viewers about who you are, that you joined Hospice of Grace family, and I just said a little bit about your education. So can you please tell us a little bit more about where you come from, your experience?
Oh, sure. Thank you so much for having me, RP.
Of course. It's a pleasure.
I've been in hospice for 11 years. And I've always knew that I was going to be doing this type of work. And I took care of my own grandparents when I was in high school and pretty much homeschooled myself. And then my senior year, when both my grandparents died, I went to traditional high school and then off to college. And so that's where I decided to major in psychology and religion to better assist people that are in that transition of death and dying and bereavement and grief. So I went to school Laverne, Hawaii, and seminary over in Arcata, California. And just now finished my doctorate of divinity, submitted my thesis on Monday, so waiting for that to get approved. And when that gets approved, then I'll be a doctorate of theology. Wow,
I wish you good luck, and I have no doubt that you will do that. Also, I know that we were talking in the past, you said something about your book that's coming out soon. I know that I'm going to get the first copy to read. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, it's still in progress. It's in editing right now. I have about 6 more chapters I have to finish. The book is entitled Hospice Isn't a Dirty Word. So many people have such a negative association with the word hospice. And the idea came to me years ago when I first had my first patient in the hospital, when I first started working in hospice, meeting with the first family, setting them up on hospice services. And they were so terrified of the word hospice, they literally thought it was, a dirty word, something that you don't talk about. And it's been about 3.5, 4 years almost in the process of working on this book. And I'm very excited to see that when it's completed. It's very difficult concluding it. The book is a combination of medical information, what hospice is, what it isn't, what palliative care is, and how hospice services should be provided, amongst other spiritual and psychological advice for families. So.
I see. Something interesting you said, hospice is not a dirty word. I know when it doesn't matter what culture, what nationality, as soon as they hear the word, the letter H, people have wrong perception about hospice. I'm very happy about your book, and I would ask you if there is a way we can translate that book in Armenian for my community, for my people, because I see that hospice is a dirty word in our community, and people really have a wrong perception. The understanding of hospice, it's not there yet, even though, Hospice of Grace, RP Kestanian as a person, I'm trying my best to educate my community, educate my people, so they're more educated, so when the time comes, they have to choose hospice for their mom and dad or their loved one. They don't think, they don't have the wrong perception, and they can make right decisions. So please, let's talk about that. And I have my resources, we can translate that in Armenian. Սիրելի հայրենակիցներ, ինչպես որ մենք լսում ենք Dr. Thomas-ին, ես ավելի կուզեի, որ մենք այս հաղորդումը ավելի անգլերենով անեինք եւ չփորձեի, որ ես բացատրեմ։ Ես խնդրում եմ, դուք եթե ունեք երեխաներ կամ ինչ որ մեկը ձեր կողքին, որ կարող է ձեր համար թարգմանել, խնդրում եմ նրանց խնդրեք, որ թարգմանեն, որ մենք կարողանանք ավելի ինֆորմացիա ձեզ փոխանցենք Dr. Thomas-ի միջոցով. Dr. Thomas, one thing, again, coming back to hospice, the challenge that I personally am having, and I know that from your experience, because we have so much in common, because we are the first people when we meet with families, we meet with people, and we are hands-on. The first thing that, of course, when people come on hospice, it's the dirty word, and then we have to explain what hospice is. And then if they make their decision, they want to come on hospice, when it comes to that one paper, the pink paper, the pulse, and people have a hard time. A lot of the times people don't make a decision because they're afraid. So can you help me, or can you help my viewers to understand about the form and how to make that decision, and what is it about?
Sure. So whenever we are admitting a patient onto hospice services, you have to fill out this pink form.
But it's not just for hospice, right? It's for hospitals, whenever patient,
exactly.
Yes.
So whenever you are in the hospital, you are faced with a decision of whether or not you want to pursue aggressive treatment or if you want to seek comfort-focused treatment only. So that pink form, when it comes to hospice, is actually quite terrifying, because now this is the first, for some families, the first conversation that they're having about meeting their mortality. Which means now all of a sudden I have to make a decision whether or not I want to pursue aggressive treatment, whether I want to be resuscitated, or whether or not I just want to be comfortable and then transition over into a peaceful passing away. So that pink form, like you said, RP, is actually quite terrifying, because it's people meeting their mortality for the first time and they're signing their name to it. So there's a lot of fear that is behind that pink piece of paper. So one of the points that I would like to encourage your viewers would be to have a very intense conversation with your family as a whole prior to going into the hospital or when you are facing this terminal illness. Talk about what the wishes are, not only for the person that is terminally ill, but for the family as a whole, because it is indeed a family decision. Even though we think it's up to the will of the individual, it's really a family decision, because the families are having to deal with the decision of the terminally ill patient. So it's important to have a conversation, and usually this is the first conversation that should be had when faced with a terminal illness. Well, what do you want to do when you are sick? Do you want us to pursue all aggressive measures and make sure that you stay alive? Or do you want to just be comfortable and have all of your needs met in a peaceful manner? So
one problem that I think you said it very well, but one problem that I see in my community, in my culture, we don't talk about it. People avoid talking about the wishes. People avoid talking about what your rights are. Even with young people, I've noticed that. But this is something that we should think about. We should think about with our head, not with our emotions.
Exactly.
Because when it comes to that decision, the day that you have no choice, that you have to make that decision, it's more harder on everybody, and it complicates issues, and you don't make the right decision. What's best for that patient. I know that, you know, my sister, you know, we talked about my sister. She's been a cancer patient. She had breast cancer, and one time her insurance sent her the 5 wishes, and they wanted her to fill out. And I know that from my experience being in healthcare for so many years, when I used to do chart audits for the HMO health plans, they want doctors for patients 18 and over to have that some kind of advance directive in the chart to say what their wishes are. I know it's not mandatory, but it is kind of mandatory. But if it's a health plan, if it's an HMO patient, that's one of the audit tools, one of the items that they look for. So I think it's a good idea for everyone. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be really sick to talk about that. For everyone to talk about what their wishes are, and for people who are sick, and it's something that we can avoid. We all have to go through that path. People get sick, but the thing is, what decisions we make. So that pink form that Dr. Thomas and I are talking about, that people see that when you're admitted in the hospital, when you're admitted in a nursing home, and in hospice, you need to have that form filled out, and that's a very important form in your chart, and that becomes a legal document once someone makes a decision on your behalf. Dr. Thomas, one thing that I know we talked in the past is the bereavement. I know that bereavement, it's part of the requirement by Joint Commission, by Department Health, by Medicare, that we need to bereave people when they have lost one. I know that in Hospice of Grace, as you see, we do things differently. We try to educate people. We try to hold their hands. Even if their loved one is passed away, we keep in touch with them. Can you just tell us a little bit about the bereavement and what is it about? Sure.
So I wanted to say that at Hospice of Grace, we do things a little bit differently than other hospices. We actually extend our bereavement program, even though it's covered under 13 months under Medicare guidelines. The family is able to receive grief counseling, bereavement for about 13 months. But we've actually extended into doing bereavement within the community, not just with our patients, but with patients at assisted livings and at nursing homes, as well as with patients at home. So we kind of extend our bereavement program a little bit over and beyond what some other people do. But what people don't realize is it's actually one of the most underutilized programs in hospice. People don't like to talk about how they feel, or they don't like to share what they're going through in terms of loss, and a lot of this is done very privately. The most common patients that you have that are dealing with bereavement are the surviving spouses, especially if there's a long-term marriage of 50 or 60 years, which we don't see very much anymore. But people that have been together 50, 60 years, you have a spouse that is going through a very dark time. They don't know how to actually survive without their other half, their soulmate, so to speak. And those are the people that we find in bereavement groups. And in these bereavement groups, it creates a place for people to socialize, to embrace shared experiences, and to receive healing on a community level as well. And we find that there is support out there with people that have gone through what you have gone through. And so when we embrace that experience with people that have walked the same path as us, it actually really supports the healing process. And you see a family member, surviving spouse, begin to deal with their grief and actually take that grief, that energy, so to speak, and put it to good use. And you see that these people begin to help other people, which is very fantastic, and that's very infectious to take your story and to share that with somebody else to provide healing in their life. Because we all are born, we're all aging, and we're all going to die someday. This is something that we all have in common. And so if we embrace our commonality and we embrace how we're all connected in this way, on a larger scale, there is so much more healing. So. Yes, that I just came from a seminar in Arizona, 4-day seminar. It was the American Academy of Hospice and Palliative Care. And I was just, good thing about that seminar that happened to me, 2 things. Number one, that I met Dr. B.J. Miller. He's a TED speaker
inspirational speaker. I think on other shows, you know, I really want to talk about him and show a video of his talk. You know, that he was, when he was young, he was in a very bad accident and he lost his 2 legs and 1 arm. And he's a TED speaker. So this guy, and right now he's a palliative care hospice physician. And he talks about that, and he talks about dying. And listening to him, you know, when you listen to him, you see things differently. You understand that, you know, it's very important to make the right decisions and to accept things as they go. Like you said, all of us, we have to come to this path. We have to go through dying, but it's how do we take it? And the second thing, the good thing that happened to me at the seminar is that I met with this couple of physicians that I'm talking right now, that we will be going to Armenia in May for a conference to educate the doctors in Armenia about hospice and palliative care. Actually, we're putting a very good, nice conference, and I'm very excited about that. And as you know, at Hospice of Grace, education is #1 priority for me personally, because all my life, you know, I wanted to learn. Education is power, knowledge is power, and you can learn, and there is never enough room for you to learn more. So another thing that I know we have 10 more minutes. One thing that I wanted to ask your opinion, the #1 issue that you see when you, as Dr. Thomas, talking to a family and that patient needs to come on hospice. I know that you deal with non-Armenians mostly. I just want to compare. Are we seeing the same problems as a cultural? Because, you know, with Armenians, I know that we have cultural issues. There are some other things that. So I wanted, and I've done non-Armenians. I took patients on service, but I need your expert opinion, since you have more expertise than I do.
Well, I think that the current trend that is with most people that are going on hospice is, you know, that word hospice. And like you said, RP, they don't understand what hospice is. There is a huge lack of education out there about hospice. People think that hospice means that you're dying. Well, it's yes and no. If you really understand what the word hospice means, which is actually a Latin word, you know, it's more about comfort. So people have come on our service, RP, and you know this, that have graduated hospice. And so what I mean by graduated hospice is that they've come off of our service,
they get well
after they've received treatment and love and support from us, and they graduate hospice. They come off of it. You know, we don't say cured or healed, but they come off. They come off of our services almost rehabilitated, I guess, or better. I don't know. I don't know what the right word would be, but they feel better. And later on, when they transition, they come back onto service. So hospice doesn't necessarily mean that you're dying. You know, it means that you need support, you need care, you need assistance, you need help from people that are skilled professionals that know about this process. They know what it means to work with death and dying. They know what it means to, you know, enter into the situation with compassion and loving kindness. They're here to support you as a family. That's what hospice is. Hospice just isn't medical. It's, you know, psychological support, it's spiritual support, it's social support. You know, we've had several cases, RP, just working together. We've had that one lady in Riverside. Of course, we can't mention the name, but you know,
the young person
she's very young. She was 52 years old. We had her on service for a good 6 months. She had, you know, a cancer that was very aggressive, and we went out there. We were going out there providing 5 days a week of care for her. No hospice does that, just to let you guys know. We're providing 5 days a week. Nurses were going out almost 3 to 4 days a week. We were going out there providing spiritual support, social support, but one thing too is we are providing volunteers that went out to help this beautiful woman who all she wanted was to have a pedicure and a manicure and get her hair done. She couldn't go get her hair done. She couldn't get her nails done. So what we did is we coordinated a group of people, volunteers, to come out and to cut her hair, you know, pretty much do her makeup, do her nails, and make her feel beautiful.
We put a smile on her face.
Yes, which actually changed the whole family dynamic. And unfortunately now, you know, she transitioned and, you know, she's passing away. But she in that moment, she felt like herself.
Yes.
You know, when people go through this transition or when they have an aggressive terminal illness, they don't feel like themselves. They don't feel what we would say, quote unquote, as normal. And this created a sense of normal for her, and it made her feel beautiful. And even her kids and her husband were just absolutely shocked about how we made her feel. And this is what we do as a hospice. You know, we go in and not just make you feel comfortable, but we go over and beyond to really become a part of the family, because when you are part of the Hospice of Grace family, you are truly an extension of that family, and we're an extension of your family. And we want to make sure that we do everything possible, you know, to make sure that we care for you like we would care for our own family.
And that's what stands out in Hospice of Grace, because, you know, you have to be passionate. If you're not, then you're not the right person to be in this kind of business. And I hate to use the word business, but you know, and one thing that, like you said, just put a smile on someone's face, because everything else is being done. The doctor, the nurses, everyone is doing their what they're supposed to do. But to do that, to go the extra mile and to make her feel beautiful again, I think that's just beautiful. And I know that you know, we also do pet therapy.
Yes.
We do music therapy and aromatherapy. In my past life, I know that before you joined Hospice of Grace, we had one patient, and the patient wanted, it was his wish to listen to Komitas. Komitas is one of well-known Armenian, and I think the world should know who Komitas is. He's a composer, and he has beautiful music. He wanted to hear his music while he was in his bed, and I made that happen for him. So we also do the music therapy, aromatherapy, which is just massaging, you know, with some
healing touch.
Some healing touch, exactly. That made a difference, and I've seen that. Pet therapy. When I was in the hospital, I used to work in the hospital. We had a pet. It was a Labrador. And it's funny that the first time that the guy who was the owner of that dog, they came into the hospital, he was passing through my office, and the dog wanted to come to my office, and we met, and you know, he put his paws on me, and I started hugging him, and he said, "Oh my God," he was like pushing me to come to your office. So I think, you know, that's from that day on, I said, you know what, when I have my hospice agency, I really want to do the pet therapy, because that heals anything. And of course, words are power. And I know, Dr. Thomas, that talking to you, I feel that, you know, even myself, when I talk to you, I feel that healing power that you have with your words. I think that's very important, in not just in hospice, in everyday life. When you talk to people, when you, your coworkers, your family, anyone, when you have that nice words, when you talk to someone, use nice words, because words are power, and they have the healing power. Dr. Thomas, thank you so much for coming to our show. I think we're going to have more of you coming, and when you have your book, and we can talk about other subjects. I just, maybe you can tell our viewers your last words, or if you have anything that you want to tell them, please do.
You know, one of the things I'd like just to share with people that are going through this process is just remember that we're all just walking each other home. In the end, you know, we're all on this journey together, and we are all walking this path together, and just be kind, be loving,
Yes.
and be fearless and have courage, because there are people out there that are here to support you and to love you through this process, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Thank you very much, Dr.
welcome.
Thomas. Our time is out. Սիրելի հայրենակիցներ, մենք խոստանում ենք ձեզ, մենք նորից հրավիրենք Dr. Thomas-ին եւ մենք ունենք տարբեր հյուրեր, որ մենք ձեզ կփորձենք տանք լավ ինֆորմացիա առողջապահության հետ կապված։ Ձեզ մաղթում եմ լավ օր, գարնանային օր, ձեզ բոլորիդ շատ սիրում եմ։ Շնորհակալություն։